What's up, y'all? I want to talk today about Damian Lillard finally going into the Portland Brass office and demanding a trade. This man been giving him everything he's gotten for like the last 11 years. And he just can't win in Portland. I mean, they traded away his running mate, CJ McCollum, traded him to New Orleans Pelican last year. So that took away some of the scoring punch of the team. Even though he got that little youngster, Anthony Simons, who balls out. I mean, he's a scorer just like CJ McCollum was. But they just don't have enough. I mean, you got Yusuf Nurkic, the center, who's decent when he plays, but he's always hurt. They had Jeremy Grant, who they re-signed in free agency to a $160 million deal. And he's a good player, but he's not valued at $160 million. But they re-signed him, and then they drafted Scoot Henderson. He wanted them to trade that draft pick to bring in, some good veterans that could help get the team over the hump, at least get them in the playoffs, or, take it a little further, semifinals, conference finals. But that's not going to happen in Portland. For one, nobody wants to go there and play. Nobody. Their best bet to have him win a team is to make it homegrown by drafting players like they did Damian Lillard, like they did CJ McCollum. That's their best bet. Nobody's going to go there in free agency. Nobody wants to go to Portland, Oregon and play. And then another issue, even when they had decent teams, they don't play defense. They don't have defensive-minded players on their squad. And that's always been an issue. They'll score a lot of points, but they're going to give up a lot of points. I mean, they'll be in shootouts with a lot of teams. And then when it comes down to the critical play on defense, as a team, they don't make it. I mean, don't get me wrong, Damian Lillard's one of the most clutch players in the NBA, and he will win you some games by himself. I mean, he's proven that. But I think it finally came to a point where he got tired. Portland didn't make any moves. They kept that number 3 draft pick, which is Scoot Henderson, who's going to be a good player. And he's probably going to end up being the franchise player once Damian Lillard leaves. Eventually, he's going to go into that role of being the guy on that squad. But as I said, he gave him 11 years. It's time. Everybody been wanting Dame to demand a trade out of there for years. But he's been loyal. He's been faithful. He's been the type that said he want to, he was drafted there. He want to play there. He want to win there. He don't want to go anywhere else. He don't want to go and be a super team, join the other top players and make super teams and all that. And I commend him for that. But there's only so much you can take, man. I mean, Kevin Garnett did it for Minnesota for like 11 years himself. And then it got to the point he's like, hey, man, look, I'm up here wasting away. I'm not winning. Okay, yeah, I got my money. I'm paid. I'm set for life. But I would like to win a championship to add to my Hall of Fame career. And he did that by going to Boston and joining Paul Pierce and Ray Allen. And they end up getting the championship out of it. I think it's time for Dame to do that. So I'm happy that he went into Portland's office yesterday and demanded this trade. Because it was time, man. 11 years, you wasting away. You too talented to waste away. You got your bag. You're set. Because whatever team he gets traded to, he's still owed over $200 million. So he's going to get that money. So why not, go in there, demand a trade. Portland do you a solid because of all the years of service you've given them. They do you a solid, trade you where you want to go. They're saying he prefer to go to Miami right now. And that probably would be the best fit because Miami wouldn't have to give up Jimmy Butler or Bam Adebayo because Portland wants young players, young good players, and draft picks. That's what Portland's looking for right now because they're going to be in full rebuild mode. And Miami probably has the most to offer right now. I don't think they have many draft picks, but they can offer him a young good player in Tyler Hero, who was 6th man of the year. They can get Tyler Hero Probably Caleb Martin, who played good in the playoffs for him last year, and in the finals he kind of disappeared. But that whole playoff run throughout the East, Caleb Martin was balling. And honestly, in the Eastern Finals, Caleb Martin should have been MVP of the East Finals. I know they gave it to Jimmy Butler, but no, it should have been Caleb Martin because he was consistent the whole series when Jimmy Butler wasn't. So he'll be somebody good to pick up in the trade. The team that I really want Dame to go to, and I'm really hoping it happens, is the Philadelphia 76ers, because I would love to see Dame play with Embiid. That'll be a good combination. They'll work well together. Dame can play off the ball. You know, Embiid, you can throw it to him in the paint. Embiid can play in ISO situation. Embiid can shoot threes. I mean, you guys know it's a totally different NBA now. There's no such thing as the traditional centers back when I was a kid in the 80s and 90s, you know, where the centers played inside, bully ball. No, these centers now, man, they shoot threes. They could do Euro steps. They could drive it to the basket. It's a totally different animal now, totally different game, where your center has to be able to move around. He has to be able to shoot. You know, he basically has to be able to play like a guard a little bit. And I think Joel Embiid, you know, he does all that. And I think him and Dame would be a good fit. I mean, maybe somehow, some way, because James Harden, he opted into his contract. Maybe they could try to move Harden to Portland, you know, for Dame. But I don't think Portland's going to want him because, once again, he's old. I mean, he'll be on a 1-year deal, which is good for them. But James Harden's old, and he's not the same anymore. He's not the same James Harden he was about 4 or 5 years ago. So I don't think they would want him. Who I think they would want, though, is the guy who I don't want them to get, who I don't want Philly to trade, and that's Tyrese Maxey. Young, good player, plays defense, plays hard, does it all, catch fire and give you 35, you know, anytime. Young, good player who I think him and Dame in that backcourt with Embiid, that's a good squad, man. And I think they would challenge Boston because, in my opinion, Boston's still the best team in the East right now. Even though Miami made it to the finals, I'm still giving it to Boston. And if you know, Philly was to add Dame, then I would put Philly number 2. Then I would put the Heat number 3, depending on what they do. So, yeah, those two teams definitely, I think they're in the Dame Lillard sweepstakes. They throwing the Clippers in there too, but I don't think that's going to happen because I don't think Portland wants to trade him to the West. They want to get him out of the West. I don't think they'll want to play against him, you know, a lot in the West. They'd rather ship him off to the East. And then on top of that, if I was Dame, I wouldn't want to go to LA. I mean, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George never play. Never. I mean, it's a rarity if they on the court together. They both always hurt. I mean, if I was the Clippers owner, I'd be pissed. I'll be ready to just be like, you know what, man, just go home. I'll eat these contracts. Y'all just gonna go home because you guys don't give me anything when it matters most. And they got a hell of a coach in Tyronn Lue. But there's only so much you could do when your 2 top players who making all the money don't play. So if I was Damian Lillard, I wouldn't want to go there. But unfortunately, he doesn't have a no trade clause in his contract. So basically, Portland can send him anywhere they want. But I'm thinking Portland not going to do that. They're going to trade him to where he wants as a solid for, you know, all the years of service he gave them. And I think that's what's going to happen. And if they saying he prefer the Heat, I'm thinking this is going to be the Heat that he's going to get traded to. Now, the timetable when it's going to happen is, you know, we all don't know. No one knows. Still plenty of time. The season don't come back around till October, so they got plenty of time to make this trade. And, you know, wherever he goes, I'm going to root for him. I'm going to be an honorary fan of that team, wherever Dame goes, because I would love to see Dame win a championship. because right now, currently, he's like my favorite player in the NBA. And I'm really not a fan of the NBA no more the way I used to be, because the game was better in the 80s and 90s, in my opinion, you know, when I was coming up as a kid, because it was more about the love of the game. To me, these players of today, they really don't care about the game the way the old timers did back in the 80s and 90s. Those guys wanted people to see them. You know, you had some players, I remember a lot of players saying, hey, that might be that fan first and only time seeing me play, so I'm going to strap it up and go out there and play. Whereas nowadays, you got players missing games all the time, just sitting out for no reason, sitting out because they tired or something like that. No legitimate injury. They just taking the game off. And it's like that because, you know, they got their money already. They paid. So, you know what I mean? And that's the beauty of an NBA contract. What you sign for is what you get. Is no type of incentives and things like that, like the NFL. You sign for a 5-year, $80 million contract. That's what you're going to get regardless. And I believe that's a lot of these players, you know, they know that. They know they're going to get their money regardless. So they're going to sit out. They're not going to give you a full 100%. And I think that's the difference between yesterday's NBA and today's NBA. And that's why I'm not really a fan like I used to be. I mean, I remember being a kid, I was so much of a fan. I would even watch if Utah Jazz playing on TV. And that's with Karl Malone and John Stockton. I can't stand John Stockton. You know what I mean? And he's a great player. But that's how much I love the NBA. I would watch a Utah Jazz game. But now it's like, I really can't get into the NBA until it get to, you know, close to playoff times. That's when I really invest in it. You know, because like I said, these players nowadays, it's too friendly. Back in the 80s and 90s, more rivalries. And the rivalries what made the NBA games good. It was theater. You had teams that legitimately didn't like each other. It's not like that now. You might have a couple of teams that don't like each other. Golden State and Memphis. That's a good series to watch because those two teams legitimately don't like each other. And that makes for the best basketball because they're going to give it their all because they want to beat each other. It's too friendly now. Then you got all these players who flop and cry and whine instead of just playing ball. I mean, don't get me wrong. It was some crying and whining back in the 80s and 90s too, but not to this extent. You get touched, barely get touched now, and it's going to be a flagrant foul or you get kicked out the game. Whereas back then, you didn't go to the hole easy. You took a beating. It wasn't no easy layups or nothing like that. If you was going to flop for a reason. And that's because you got knocked on your butt. So, yeah. NBA really, you know, not as good as it used to be in my opinion, but I just want to say something about Dame Lillard. That's my guy, my favorite player I like to watch right now. And I'm glad that he decided to go and, you know, stand up for something. Be like, hey, man, look, you guys not doing anything to make things better. Go ahead and let's just work on getting me out of here. And as I said, wherever he go, I'm going to become an honorary fan of that team because I want to see him win. I hope it's the Sixers and the Sixers can maintain Maxey along with it. But I got a feeling it's going to be the Heat. So we'll see how that goes. So let's get into this free agency period that's going on right now that began yesterday. Dante DiVincenzo, who was with the Warriors last season, signed a 4-year, $50 million deal with the Knicks. And he's basically going to be joining his old college teammates, I guess, which is kind of sweet. He'll be playing with his old Villanova buddies, Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart, who all played, you know, major roles in helping them win national championships at Villanova. So they all going to team up now in the pros. I mean, that got to be kind of sweet. You playing with your old college mates on the same squad. But the Warriors lose him. And he did good for him last year. You know, he gave them production off the bench. He was a good role player. Kenyon Martin Jr. was acquired by the Clippers from the Rockets. They traded him for 2 future second-round picks. He's very athletic. He's kind of like his dad. He's a dunker. You know, get you some rebounds, do a lot of athletic things around the rim. So he'll bring some athleticism to the Clippers squad. Then you had Russell Westbrook. He re-signed with the Clippers on a 2-year deal worth $8 million. And, you know, he posted a solid average of 16 points and about 8 assists and 4 rebounds. And you know the thing about Russell Westbrook, I mean, he's starting to, you know, his game is starting to go down too as he age. But he's still capable of giving you triple doubles on any given night. You know, he's pretty good with that. He's good at, you know, doing different, you know, facets of the game, passing the ball. Jump shot's still not that great, but he can still go to the bucket. He can still make things happen as a player. So I believe that's a good, you know, that's a good fit for the Clippers. It was good for him to stay there. He helped them out, especially with Paul George, Kawhi Leonard not knowing their status, what it's going to be from game to game. So you need all the scoring punch you could get just because of those two not playing for certain. Next up, wow, Dillon Brooks, you know, who ended up being the laughing stock and, you know, the meme getter of the NBA once Grizzlies lost to LeBron and the Lakers. You know, everybody remember Dillon Brooks saying, you know, that you basically got to give him 40 for him to recognize you, you know, talking about LeBron. And you should have seen the memes and the videos I saw after that series was over. Those LA folks, I mean, he walking out the stadium, LA folks was all on him, just talking tall trash. I mean, he did a good job ignoring them, but it's almost like Memphis kind of scapegoated dude and blamed everything on him because, you know, they brass came out and said that they're not re-signing Dillon Brooks. He will not be back. And they like put emphasis on it. You know, almost like making it seem like John Morant ain't been doing nothing stupid. I mean, I hope Marcus Smart could help John Morant. You know, that was another trade that had happened, but that been happened. Marcus Smart getting traded to the Grizzlies, which I think was a dumb move for Boston because they lose their toughness and their grit. Jason Tatum's not that dude. He's not a gritty, tough guy. I mean, he's the best player on the team, scoring-wise. But in my opinion, Jaylen Brown's the best player on that team when it comes to clutch situations. Jason Tatum, I mean, he could be clutch sometimes, but to me, he fades away a lot more when it matters most than him being clutch. And I just think with Marcus Smart not being there no more, they lose a significant amount of toughness and grit to that squad. But Dillon Brooks, 4-year, $80 million contract with the Rockets to get with Ime Udoka, who's the former Boston Celtic coach. Now he's the coach with the Rockets. So, you know, Udoka, he like those feisty type players. And Dillon Brooks, he is a feisty type of player. You know, does a lot of yapping. But he'll do the necessary things needed to help a team win. I don't know if I would have gave him a 4-year, $80 million deal, but that's what they gave him. Rockets also acquired veteran guard Patty Mills. I thought he was about done. I mean, remember he had his glory years with the Spurs, helping them win championships. I thought Patty was about done, but I guess not. You know, so they acquired him from the Nets in the trade. Let's see who else. Well, another one of my favorite players, young players. You know, Dame is my favorite player to watch in the NBA, but also love watching LaMelo Ball. I like LaMelo Ball. It sucked that he got hurt last year, but the Hornets re-upped him, gave him an extension, 5-year, $260 million. God, dog. And like I said, that's the thing that's beautiful about NBA contracts. They're guaranteed. So, hey, if you got kids out there that's trying to, play in a profession, professional sport, have them play either in the NBA, play basketball, or play baseball. Or, I guess you can play hockey too. Their contracts don't be as astronomical as baseball and basketball players. But those three sports all give their players guaranteed contracts. Once they sign that dotted line, if the numbers are what they say they are, that's what they're going to get. It's kind of hard for NFL. A lot of those contracts are incentive based. You basically going to get the signing bonus. You could, in the NFL, you could sign like a 4-year, $60 million deal. 30 million of it to be guaranteed. That other 30 million is going to be based on incentives and bonuses. And if you make the Pro Bowl, if you win the Super Bowl, if you get so many sacks per season or throw for so many yards or so many touchdowns, it's a bunch of ramifications with NFL contracts as compared to NBA, MLB, and NHL contracts. Those contracts are guaranteed. So if I had a son, I'm like, son, hey, I want you to play some ball, play basketball, or play baseball. That way you're going to get all your money because, injuries can happen. And I mean, you hate to see it, but, somebody might get hurt and be done for their career. They'll still get that guaranteed contract that they signed for. So, you got to look at things like that. But LaMelo Ball, he re-upped with the Hornets, 5-year, $260 million extension. Good player. Another one, and I was wondering about this one, the Lakers and that kid Austin Reeves, who just came out of nowhere last year. I mean, he came out of nowhere and balled out. And everybody was saying he was going to get money. He's going to get paid this offseason. He's a restricted free agent. But the Lakers end up re-signing him to a 4-year, $56 million deal. So it wasn't no kind of bidding war or anything like that. That's what people were wondering, if another team was going to swoop in and, offer him a big contract and the Lakers have to match it. But I guess that didn't happen. The Lakers offered him what they offered him and he accepted. And I think that's a good fit because he balled out last season. And I definitely think, he earned this contract, this new contract that he's getting. And I expect him to do, even better things. The Pacers acquire Obi Toppin from the Knicks for second round draft picks. I don't know. Toppin was good when he was at the University of Dayton in college. I think he won National Player of the Year, if I'm not mistaken. But he's kind of been a disappointment since he's been in the league with the Knicks. He hasn't done much. I mean, he's an athlete. He hit a wing three occasionally. But other than that, he's a dunker. So I'm just curious to see what he's going to bring to the Pacers. A young squad, a young up-and-coming squad. What can he bring to them? And this was another one. Everybody's wondering where Brook Lopez was going to go. It looks like he's going to stay with the Bucks. 2-year, $48 million to stay with the Bucks because he was a hot commodity. I mean, he's another one of those centers. Now, he's not fast or agile, but he can play inside. He started off with an inside post game because if you go back and look at him and his twin brother, Robin Lopez, they both played at Stanford University. And Robin, he's more the banger, the dirty work type of guy, rebound, block shots, all that. Whereas Brook was more the scorer. And when he first came in the league, Brook Lopez, it was just everything back to the basket. Everything was back to the basket. And then as time is going on, he's gotten older. He's developed a jump shot now. Brook Lopez shoot 3-pointers like easily. And that goes to what I said about the traditional center and the non-traditional center. The NBA yesterday had the traditional center. Back to the basket, jump hooks, maybe like a 10, 15-foot jump shot. Some of the guys back then, like the Elijah Wans, the Ewings, Dave Robinsons, they could step out and shoot like a 10, 15-foot jump shot accurately. But nowadays, I mean, you got the Joker who just won the NBA championship. You got Joel Embiid. You know, those guys, they shoot threes, man. Brook Lopez, they shoot threes. You know, play like guards, bring the ball up, pass the ball, do Euro steps. You know, these centers of today are just a different breed. But that's a good signing for the Bucks to bring back Brook Lopez. Lakers, they also re-signed D'Angelo Russell. So they basically keeping their whole squad together, which is good because remember the Lakers were the 8th seed. The Lakers were just like the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat was the 8th seed, played in the play-in, and made it all the way to the finals. The Lakers were an 8th seed, played in the play-ins, made it to the conference finals. So why not keep that same squad together? So they re-signed D'Angelo Russell to a 2-year deal worth $37 million. Kyrie Irving, he ended up re-signing with the Dallas Mavericks. Now, I don't know about that. You know, I don't know about Kyrie and Luka. It didn't seem like it worked last year to me. I know they had a horrible record while they was playing with each other. I think they were 4-12 playing together. And I like Luka. And to me, Kyrie's a team destroyer. I don't know, man. Kyrie's a great player, but in my opinion, he's just weird, man. I don't know about Kyrie. I don't know if anybody gonna be able to work with him. I think LeBron James is the only person that can work with him. Truthfully, I don't think nobody else. I don't think no other star will work with Kyrie. But he stayed with Dallas, man, because Dallas was the only team that could offer him the max type of deal, $213 million, something like that. So he stayed there to get that bag. Miami lost Max Strus. That's another thing that could open up the door for Dame, you know, for the trade for Dame. Max Strus was their starting 2 guard. He was their shooter. He went to Cleveland in a 3-team sign and trade. And he got a 4-year, $63 million deal. Damn. Really? For Max Strus? Hey, I mean, he was okay, but I mean, the NBA must be really getting this TV money, man, because some of these contracts are crazy. Some of these contracts, it don't seem like those players would get this type of money, those type of players. I mean, like I said, Max Strus not bad. He could shoot, but I don't think 4 years, $63 million. And like I said, that opens up the door for Dame Lillard, you know, even more. They would need his shooting. So, you know, I'm curious to see if Miami's going to try to make that happen. As I said in my last stanza, I really don't want it to happen. I want him to go to the Sixers, and somehow, some way, they able to keep Tyrese Maxey on the Sixers to go along with Dame. Oh my goodness, that'd be so sweet. Okay, this was a big one for the Grizzlies. Desmond Bane. He's their shooter. He's the starting 2 guard alongside Ja Morant. Well, when Ja Morant come back, because, you know, he got suspended 25 games. First 25 games, Ja Morant's going to miss because, you know, he's out here being a knucklehead trying to be a gangster. But Desmond Bane, he signs an extension, $207 million, max extension to stay with the Grizzlies, which is good because that keeps their young core backcourt together of Desmond Bane and Ja Morant. Pacers bring back Tyrese Halliburton. They give him a contract extension worth $260 million. That's a lot of money. But Halliburton is good, man. Made his first All-Star game this year. He's going to play on, I think he's playing in that FIBA. He's going to be on that FIBA World Championship team, which means he's probably going to play on the next Olympic team. But Halliburton is good. He's really good. I mean, the dude, I want to say he led the league in assists. If he didn't lead it, he was close. But I know he averaged damn near double digit assists. If it wasn't 9, it was like 10. But I think he's a good stay for the Pacers, and he's definitely their star of the future. So I'm okay with that. I think that's a good contract. Now I don't understand this one. Derrick Rose signs with the Grizzlies. I thought D Rose was about done. 2-year, fully guaranteed, $6.5 million contract. I mean, are they just bringing him in for like leadership purposes? Maybe. I was looking more at Marcus Smart being that type of, dog that could get in Ja Morant's face and all that. I'm just curious to see what D Rose got left in the tank. And this is sad about D Rose. We all knew D Rose is on his way, man. He's on his way to being a star. D Rose would probably have been like one of the best combo. I'm gonna say combo guard because I don't consider him a point guard. He's more like a combo guard. I mean, he played the point guard position, but he's more of like a combo scoring type of guard. But he definitely would have been one of the best guards of all time, man. The way D Rose came in the league. If them knee injuries wouldn't have messed him up, we'd be talking about Derrick Rose in a different light. It's like now he's like on has-been status now. He's just around. I thought he probably would have retired by now, but yeah, he signed with the Grizzlies. All right, so with the Lakers re-signing D'Angelo Russell, that means they lost Dennis Schroeder. So Dennis Schroeder ended up going to the Toronto Raptors with the departure of Fred VanVleet, who went to Houston. Fred VanVleet is with Houston Rockets now, and he's their starting point guard. He signed with Houston, and so that left the opening for Dennis Schroeder to be the starting point guard in Toronto, which he probably is going to be. He signed a 2-year, $26 million deal, while VanVleet, he signed a 3-year, $130 million deal with the Rockets. And I like VanVleet. I think he's a good player, very sturdy, point guard, tough, can make shots, and I think he'll be a good fit for Houston. They're a young squad, so it'd be good to have a couple of veteran type leaders in there, with VanVleet and Dylan Brooks. And the Lakers bring back Rui Hachimura. They re-signed him and brought him back. 3-year, $51 million deal. As I said, they're keeping that whole team together, which makes sense. To me, the key for the Lakers is AD. Anthony Davis is another one of those type of players who never gives you a full season. He's always hurt. But when he plays, he's one of the best players in the NBA. And that's the thing. Can AD play? How many games he's going to give you? Truthfully, I don't think he's going to give you more than 65 games. So Anthony Davis is the key on what the Lakers do. Yeah, I forgot the Lakers got Gabe Vincent too. They signed him, and he was the starting point guard during the playoffs for the Miami Heat. He made a lot of clutch threes. He's another shooter. So Lakers been doing good, as far as like maintaining their shooters or bringing them in. Austin Reeves a decent shooter. They was able to maintain him. D'Angelo Russell, he's hot and cold. He could heat up and hit about 4 or 5 shots in a row, or he could miss like 6 in a row. Gabe Vincent's a decent shooter. Cam Johnson, who was a part of that Kevin Durant deal from Phoenix to Brooklyn, he re-upped with Brooklyn. He's another shooter. He's a decent player, but damn, 4-year, $108 million for Cam Johnson? That's what I'm saying. That TV contract has to be like excellent, man. Really excellent. That TV contract that they have with the NBA, ESPN, and TNT. Because damn, I don't see Cam Johnson. Once again, he's a good shooter. He's a decent young player. Played at North Carolina. Decent young player. But 4 years, $108 million. I don't know about that, man. Jacob Poeltl stays with the Raptors. He's a center. He played at University of Utah. Started his career with the Spurs. Ended up getting traded to Toronto. So he's a big man. He shoots. No, he doesn't shoot. I'm sorry. He blocks shots and, plays defense and gets some rebounds. If he scores anything, it's going to be like putbacks or, easy shots where he's set up in the right spot. And he got $80 million. Wow. Chris Middleton, he was a free agent. He ended up re-signing with the Bucks, but he's been down the last few years. He's been another person that's been getting injured, and I think that's what killed the Bucks last year in the playoffs. He wasn't right against the Boston Celtics. He came back off his injury. He wasn't right, but he ended up signing a 3-year, $100 million deal with the Bucks to stay with the Bucks. And then one of the beginning trades, was Porzingis. Porzingis signed a 2-year deal extension with the Celtics. And he's going to give them scoring punch from the inside and out. And the Celtics really don't have that. They don't have a big man that can score inside and out. Al Horford, he's more of a 3-point shooter. He still play defense and, things like that. But Al Horford really not going to get down there and bang with nobody anymore. He's more of a person who stays outside and shoot threes. So with Kristaps Porzingis, they got somebody who could play inside. You could run the offense through him. He could shoot the little short mid-range jump shot. He could shoot the 3-point jump shot. He can make his free throws. He's a pretty decent player. So he'll definitely give Boston a scoring punch, and he definitely makes them the favorite in the East. But once again, I just want to see how they're going to perform without Marcus Smart. And don't get me wrong, Malcolm Brogdon is going to be a good replacement for him. He can score better than Marcus Smart, and I'm assuming he's going to be put in the starting point guard spot. And he's a better scorer than Marcus Smart. But he's not one of those tough, gritty type of players that Marcus Smart is. And to me, they lose their heart and soul, when they lost Marcus Smart. But I still think that they're going to be the favorite in the East, especially with this addition of Kristaps Porzingis. And that one deal I was talking about earlier in the last stanza when I was discussing Dame, his teammate, Jeremy Grant, he's a decent player. The nephew of Horace Grant that played for the Bulls with Michael Jordan. He's decent, but he's not worth a $160 million extension, man. And that's not anything that's going to help Dame, That's why I say I understand why Dame was like, man, okay, look, I had enough. Let's just go ahead and work on trading me, get me out of here, get me to a better situation. Jeremy Grant is okay, but not worth $160 million. It's like that type of money is for a player that's above average. Jeremy Grant's an average type player. He scored about 17, 18 a game, get you about 9, 10 rebounds. That's okay, but not $160 million. Okay. Kyle Kuzma, he re-signed with the Wizards, who are a young rebuilding team now with the addition of Jordan Poole. They traded away Bradley Beal to Phoenix. That gave Phoenix a big three. Durant, Booker, and Beal. So they have a big three, but I don't think they're going to do much. They don't have a bench. They have to rebuild their bench if they're going to do anything. But people were wondering if Kyle Kuzma was going to leave. But it looked like he re-signed with the Wizards. Why not? It's a chance for that to be your team. It's either going to be his or Jordan Poole's team, because Golden State traded Jordan Poole to the Wizards for the rights to Chris Paul, which really didn't make no sense to me, because Chris Paul and Golden State just does not fit. Golden State is a running team where it's constant ball movement, player movement, and fast pace. Chris Paul doesn't move like that. Chris Paul runs things slow. He's like a slow point guard. He doesn't move around like that. So I just don't think it's going to be a good fit. But they did that to appease Draymond. They got Jordan Poole out of there. for one, to get Jordan Poole's money off the books, because they owed Jordan Poole like $130 million. So they was able to move that contract, make some room, some cap space, so they could re-sign Draymond to like a 4-year, $120 million deal, something like that. So they got Draymond back. And at the same time, they was able to get Jordan Poole out of there because of all the friction that those two guys had when Draymond cold cocked him, and he shouldn't have did that, man. I mean, I don't know what Jordan Poole said to him, but he didn't have to drop him like that, man. I mean, he basically dropped him, and that just messed the whole chemistry of the team up the whole year. Golden State was as an NBA champion, they had like the worst road record ever. I mean, they were horrible on the road. They just could not win on the road. Damn near undefeated at home, but just couldn't win on the road. And that's what bit them in the butt in the playoffs. You seen it coming. I mean, honestly, I didn't think that he was going to get out of that Kings series. But Steph Curry went nuts in that Game 7. It's the only reason why it happened. But that couldn't happen against the Lakers, though. The Lakers are too big, and they just couldn't do it, man. They just couldn't win on the road. So Kyle Kuzma stayed there for $102 million. Like I said, why not stay there, get paid, and then have a chance to be the man on the squad now that Bradley Beal's gone? There's a host of other deals that happened, but a lot of these guys, I have no idea who they are really, so I'm not really going to discuss them. But that was NBA free agency. I'm looking forward to the season to see what happens and see how things go. I want to end the show on talking about how I'm finally relieved that Dame decided to go into the front office of the Portland Trail Blazers and demand a trade, because like I said before, it's time. He gave him 11 years. I mean, you can't give him no more. They're not trying to improve the team to help you win now. They're more in rebuild mode. So it was time for him to make his move and get out of there. So I'm completely pleased that he decided to do so, because everybody been wanting him to go in there and demand a trade for years. And he's finally reached his breaking point where he decided to do that. In regards to NBA free agency, I mean, really wasn't a lot of like major moves. A lot of players decide to re-up with their squads. I mean, you had Fred VanVleet move on to Houston, which is a good fit for them. That's probably the most important free agent pickup that I could think of, that left his current squad and went to a new squad. For the most part, all the important players re-signed with their teams. But you never know. I mean, free agency isn't over yet. It just began yesterday, so still have more days to go. And then we'll see what happens. All right, it's something I like to do, and I like to talk. I'm big into sports history and history in general. So on this day in sports history, July 2nd, 1941, Yankees legend Joe DiMaggio hits a 3-run homer off Boston's Dick Newsom to pass Willie Keeler's MLB record 44-game hitting streak. I mean, Joe DiMaggio, definitely a Yankee legend. And I don't know for sure, I'm not a baseball historian. I know more about basketball history than anything, but I think that hitting streak got up to 46 or 48 before it was broken. But yeah, on this day in 1941, he snapped Willie Keeler's MLB record 44-game hitting streak. I mean, you got to think of that, man. That's amazing. So many games in a row with a hit. That's not an easy thing to do. So I just want to leave you guys with that. As usual, I want to thank you all for listening, and make sure you come back for more, because I'm going to be doing this, and I'm going to be discussing sports, TV series, movies, especially horror movies. I'm going to get to some retro stuff, and like video games, old Nintendo games that used to piss me off, and I'm wondering how much they pissed you off back when we were kids. Toys, Transformers. I'm a big Transformers nut. I'm gonna be discussing Transformers and some of the old toys, G.I. Joe, GoBots, the forgotten robot toys, Voltron. See, I was big into the robot toys. So I had Voltron, I had GoBots, I had Transformers, but mostly Transformers, and everybody from my childhood know that about me. So yeah, I'm going to be discussing some of these, topics on my podcast, because I love to talk about this type of stuff. I believe, in the saying, never let go of your childhood, and I'm not going to let go of my childhood. I'm 46, but I still collect, I started back my Transformer collection as far as, picking them up and storing them and displaying them and things like that. I'm trying to collect all the game systems. So far, I still have the classic NES. I have a Sega Genesis Nomad. That's the portable Genesis. I have PS2, 3, 4, Xbox 360, Xbox Series 1, Dreamcast. I have the old Dreamcast. So I'm trying to go back and collect all these game systems and just have them. I mean, every once in a while, I still play them. I bring out the old game systems, and, me, the wife, and the kids, we'll play. We have a family game night, so just stick around. We're going to discuss all that type of stuff.